Yeah.
There's
No,
like introduction.
Anyway, here. Welcome.
Thank you.
So cool to have you.
Thank you. I'm really happy about it.
To answer your question, every time you and I meet, pretty much every time, it's just a social gathering with a lot of people. And most of the time I find myself talking to you about stuff for a long time.
Yeah.
To the point where your boyfriend or other people are just like trying to separate us so that they can talk to you or somebody can talk to me.
Yeah.
And I've had this idea, you asked me before, I've had this idea for 2.5 years. And the reason why I want to do this is because I have an incredibly curious mind. I find everything interesting.
Yeah.
To the point where I get on people's nerves.
At least not on mine. I appreciate the curiosity and I appreciate the good conversation. So this is perfect.
Well,
and that's why I think we get like we get entangled whenever we are, because we both, I think, or at least I, speaking for myself, I have strong opinions.
Yeah.
So I think that's why.
Which is why you're here.
Yeah, exactly. So I think that's cool. Yeah. So for me, I don't think you don't get on my nerves, at least.
Okay, that's good. Otherwise, you'll storm out of here. No, so it's been on my mind for about 2.5 years, and I've been really afraid to do it.
Okay.
The reason is putting out. I don't know why. I think it started with when I took my physiotherapy degree. It changed me because you constantly had to have solid evidence to back up whatever you said. And I don't know, I just felt like before I would just bluntly express my opinions and I had nothing to back it up. You learn so much from academia. So I was afraid of, and of course with this whole social media thing where people, you say something online and then you're destroyed for life if it's something that some people don't like.
Yeah. People get cancelled.
Exactly, the cancel culture, which is something I hope we can talk about. I have a few things prepared for myself, from Catherine and from some friends. But so and since it scares me, I want to do it. And nobody's gonna tell me what I can and cannot do. Right?
Yeah.
Also having Carmen, our daughter, I don't want my lesson to her, I want that to be, you should not be afraid to do anything. Whatever you want to do in life, you go for it and you do it and don't let people tell you no. And if I can't do this, then I can't lead by example.
Yeah.
So for 2.5 years, it's been on my mind.
But that's really cool, and I think great example of you to set for your daughter, because I mean, yeah, you have you have a responsibility as a father, as a male figure, and everything to show her.
Some things, yes, and I do believe that there are differences between the mom and the dad. I do think that there are some things that we do differently, and we might touch upon that as well. But I would like to know, you just came back from Spain.
Yeah.
And I'd like to ask you, I'm curious of, of course, in a normal conversation, I would ask, how was it? How was your family, etc. And you can, feel free to, if you have any fun stories to share. But mostly I'm interested in like the COVID situation in Spain, because Spain had it really bad in the beginning.
Yeah, it was quite bad. I mean, I'm amazed because actually, I don't know if I've told you, but the place where I come from in Spain, where I grew up, it's a really small village of 6,000 people. And the entire area is composed of like small villages of about between 6,000 and like 3,000 and 10,000 like villages type of people. And all of that area is known for being like, doing whatever they want, not really respecting a lot of things, and kind of, and a bit of that approach of loose approach to rules overall in Spain that applies in some places.
No, but they're separate
and
from
in
the
the
rest
south, and mostly in the south. And I'm amazed how much people have stepped up and how much people like, no, wear a mask, no, don't touch someone who is not from like your family, who you know for a fact that it's okay to touch and approach and all of that. So yeah, how much the bars and pubs and restaurants have adapted and adjusted to the entire situation. So I believe that it is so much better. So people are starting to like are getting vaccinated, and it's not really that much of a question, which I thought maybe it could be as one of these things like, oh no, I don't want to get vaccinated. I'm not at this stage of my life, because we have a lot of the percentage of the of people who live in the area are elderly, and it feels like a lot of them would say, nope, I don't want that. I don't need that. If I haven't died yet, then it's okay.
Yeah, sure. I can see where that would be a mentality you would be, you would think existed everywhere.
But the opposite, people actually, I think the fear of wanting to leave, to live and to stay on this earth, that has pushed everyone to step up big time. So I think it has improved a lot. However, there's always the typical thing of they just, for example, released some of the like stricter restrictions. They stopped with them. So therefore, of course, there was like a mega party of people being with masks, but still being too close to each other, which happened in Madrid. So yeah, people were really upset about all of these things, because everyone wants to go to the normal life. And I think that's one of the main things that has been everyone realized, oh crap, this is serious, we need to get it together. Okay, we get it together, and we hope that the sooner the better this is finished, so we can go back to the normal life.
What does that look like? Like, what do you is there curfew? Can you go out when you want to?
So there's curfew. They do change a lot, depends on the area and the region. And they change, like they can change from one day to another to say, okay, now we lift again the curfew to like earlier or later. So currently in my area, which is Alicante, the curfew was 12 o'clock. Everyone must be, so midnight, everyone must be at home, in their homes. So that has been it. Not more than 6 people getting together in the same household. So that has been the main thing. And of course, the restaurants and pubs and all of that is at 50% of being able to access to it. But right before I came, like 4 days before I came to Spain, the curfew was 10 instead. And as you know, in Spain, similar I guess to France, like things happen a bit later when it comes to dinner and so on. People start having dinner at 9, so they finish at around 11 if they sit there and have so that was a big change. So people basically didn't go out for dinner or didn't go to their parents or grandparents for dinner or anything. They stayed at home. But now it is again the possibility.
Yeah, that's always.
And masks outside, mandatory. Yeah. As soon as you step out of your apartment or your house or your property, you must wear a mask until you sit down. If you're gonna go to a restaurant or anywhere else, until you sit down there, then you can take it off. But if anyone else comes to the table, you have to put it on again. Or if you are going to get up to go to the bathroom, even if everyone is still seated, everyone else in the place, you have to put on a mask. So that is mandatory.
It's very strict. And how do you feel now coming back here? Because in Sweden, we're a bit loosey-goosey with... there are restrictions. There are mostly recommendations. There is nothing illegal, except perhaps... at some point, if we're too many in a closed space, police might come and break up the thing and tell people to disperse or whatever. But for example, in France, you couldn't be out after 8 or 9 or 6 sometimes, and you could only be out once per day. You would need this note that said, I haven't...
Yeah, that used to be like that in Spain also, when it was the very, very strict restrictions in last spring. that was necessary. What's necessary as well, if you live in the same region but you work in another region, which is fairly easy, that happens. My sister, for example, she lives in Alicante, but she goes to Murcia to work. She needed every time she crossed the border, she had to have a paper in order to, if she gets stopped, to be able to show, I work here, this is a necessity that I need to move through the regions.
How do you feel going here now? Do you feel, I don't know, like, do you feel safer in Spain? Do you feel okay here? Any other like thoughts on?
I mean, also, I guess for me it's a bit different due to that, because I work in a school with so many people around me, and
it's a pretty large school.
It hasn't really applied in the same way within the school, because we've had recommendations here in Sweden, but in the end of the day, schools were still open and functioning. So I do feel more responsibility automatically. You, as soon as you are in Spain and you see everyone with masks or everyone keeping the distance, you realize, okay, I need to be more aware. I cannot just stand in line fairly close, or I cannot, or if I see a person on the street crossing one way, you can see everyone kind of splitting aside. People don't want to approach each other. So I think I automatically notice the responsibility in me of, okay, a mask. Do I have my mask? Do I have an extra mask in the bag to change afterwards?
What happens if you don't wear it?
Either, like, well, if the police sees you can get fined. So you can actually have to pay money.
Do you know how much?
I'm not sure. I haven't looked, but I know that it's last summer when we also traveled there, it was like good 600 euros.
Right.
And you were supposed to wear a mask even in your car as well.
In your car? Wow, okay.
So so that's I think that the automatic responsibility of everyone is aware and everyone is being careful, so should you. And here you get a bit more relaxed once you land and you see, no one is wearing really a mask, no one is as careful with the distance. One of the things that happened to me the other day is that as soon as I came back, and one person in the airport were just like breathing down my neck.
Oh man, what did you do?
And I turned around and I said, can you please back off? Like, you can see I'm wearing a mask, you can see I'm keeping the distance in front of the other lady, and the person just kind of huffed and puffed and backed off, but still it was like a Swedish older man, which, I mean, I don't know, just out of respect, if you see everyone is doing it, why can't... I don't know if trying to prove a point or what, but I did say.
So I have this. Okay, well that's great, and it's interesting to hear the differences in other countries from people who have actually been there. Something that I have this theory. I made a post on Facebook, which I'm not on Facebook anymore. I'm not on social media at all. With this thing that'll change, I guess, but it's like Swedish people, and this is just my opinion, being a Swede. There's the jantelag. Nobody wants to stand out. Nobody wants to do something different. So behaving out of the norm would qualify you as different or odd. I've always been odd and different. So, and since I work in healthcare and we have, I actually work with COVID patients, not hands-on. Well, once, but most of the time I manage so that some of the things, they have proper treatment from my profession. So since it's always something we talk about at work, and what are the guidelines, what are the restrictions, I'm always making like a super clear example for people when I'm out. I'm almost theatrical about the way I move. I'm stepping aside. I'm almost like I'm in a play at a theater. Waving people by,
exaggerating for them to notice that you are acting on it.
There is a pandemic. And then I think that people kind of be like, oh, okay, now I can also, he did it first, so now I can also properly behave, you know. But I think Swedish people, it's difficult for them to stand out. So being extra distant and taking a detour, waiting before you just stretch over somebody to get the milk. You know, you kind of wait. That's what I do. I wait. And I'm not trying to be impatient. I'm just waiting. It can take 2 minutes. I don't mind. I'm going to wait. It's a pandemic. But I think Swedish people have a difficulty with it because behaving that way is outside of the norm, and that's not what Swedish people like to do.
Yeah, because there has been this a little bit pretending like it's not happening thing, which it feels wrong. And I think like with people having connections in other countries, when you hear it from your close family and friends and so on, that they are locked up, like my sister, she was with a toddler, pregnant, heavily pregnant, and with her husband, and they were in a lockdown.
Yeah.
So with COVID, the toddler and her having COVID, and her husband is asymptomatic. So the pregnant lady and the toddler having COVID and coughing and all of this, and the husband the only one that was asymptomatic. And when you hear it from her that she is locked up for 3 weeks without being able to step out of your apartment, being pregnant and with a toddler, and with your husband in 60 square meters, you really like need to or you get a wake-up call of, you know what, actually my sister is being locked up in here, and I'm here being able to stroll through the park and go even to the pub if I would wanted to. So yeah, that is something like I think that wakes you up more, and that I think we might get more upset about people not following the rules and not doing something. But at the same time, like for example, for me at my job, I was one of the few wearing a mask in the school, even though my mask doesn't really protect me. It protects
other people.
Yeah, it protects other people, but to set up an example. And that's something that, like happens. I guess you see more people starting to wear it, but then you realize no one really, as in the vast majority, doesn't wear it, so it doesn't make a difference whether you wear it or not. And when you come up this close with, you know, a bunch of kids in a very tight corridor, it becomes like, oh my god, like you're trying to find a place where to breathe and to look.
I'm probably a germaphobe or something, so I would be like holding my breath and then like trying to sip air from somewhere. I think this area is safe.
But that's how it feels sometimes. So and the good thing for me, because I'm so short, you know, and the kids are so tall. Most of the time I'm in a safer area, like breathing wise.
Things do fall down though. The particles do fall down. You know,
so everything is up here, probably.
You should wear like this, I don't know, some Mexican or Spanish hat that just so all the germs just get stuck on the sombrero or something.
Yeah, so that's how it is. But that's COVID wise. I think I was really surprised that Spain really got it together for being known like the southern lazier country that doesn't, like, they really stepped it up. And even more when you compare it here, because my family asked me, so how is it in there? I'm like, we can go out, we can do things. Nowadays we cannot go out until, or we can go out only until 8:30, but that's about it. And that's makes you kind of.
And also, every country has to deal with COVID differently because of population density and stuff like that, and access to information. Lots of stuff, right? But anyway, all right, interesting. So you have strong views on feminism.
Yes, very much so.
Yes.